שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני, שירו לאדוני, שירו לאדוני. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסו מיום ליום ישועתו.
Rabbi Chaim of Tzantz used to tell the tale that there was once a man wandering in the forest, lost and alone for several days, until he encountered another. "My brother, my friend, show me the way out." But the man replied, "I can only tell you this. The ways I have tried, they lead nowhere. They've led me astray. But take my hand. Why don't we look for the way together?" And so, searching for the road home, knowing they couldn't get there alone, but strengthened by their meeting, they continued forward hand in hand. So it is with us, Reb Chaim would add. When we go alone and apart our own separate way, we are easily led astray, which is why we say this morning, the Shabbat morning, be present with full heart and full intention. If you're with us on live stream, keep your camera on, be present, don't go away. If you're here with us in the sanctuary, turn off your cell phone or at least put it on silent for the next hour and a half. Don't record this moment. Don't be distracted by everything outside. Be fully present with us, with Rebecca as she leads us in worship. In every melody and every reading, whether you know it or not, we're going to give you the pages. Follow along and be with us and as we share in Torah, in spirit, in meditation. As long as we go it alone, we're always lost. But this Shabbat, we can begin to make our way back home to holiness. At this unusual time in the world, we are so grateful to be able to be physically together and to know that those who can't be here in the space are with us on live stream as well. So join us as we turn now to page 78 in our prayer books, praising God for the gift of body and soul. Elohai nishama shenatata bi tohorahi. My God, you have given us a soul that is pure. We turn now to page 83 as we set our intentions for this morning and the week ahead as we read responsively. As I awaken, let this be my thought. May my day be filled with acts of loving kindness. Let me be drawn to learning and discernment, and may my actions be shaped by mitzvot.
Keep me from iniquity, disgrace, and sin. May I not be overwhelmed by temptation or despair.
Distance me from evil people and false friends. Let me cultivate a life of goodness.
May my hands reach out in kindness, and I will serve God through the acts of righteousness.
Today and every day may I merit your mercy by living my life with compassion and love.
Holy One of blessing, draw me to your words. Teach me the art of sacred living.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. We turn now to page 106 as we rise together for Chatzi Kaddish. Remain standing through the Shema.
Itkadav, itkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Amen. Be'amad yivrach chirutei, v'yamnech malchutei, v'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayei lecho Vitador, Vitala, Vitala, Shemeir Kudesha, Brichu, Leila Minko Bechata Veshata, Tush Bechata Venachemata, Damiron Be'olema, Imeru, Amen.
We turn now to page 108 for the Baruch Hu, and it's my pleasure to invite our Bat Mitzvah, Rebecca, up to lead us in the next portion of our worship service.
Do over.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. We continue on page 110. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Yotzer or urei choshech Osei shalom urei et hakol Hama'ir la'aretz V'ladarim aleha brachamim Uvetuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid Ma'aseh v'reishit Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai Kulam b'chochma asita mal'a ha'aretz kinyanecha Tich barach Adonai Eloheinu Al shavach ma'aseh yadecha Ve'al b'rei or she'asita yefarucha sela or chadash al Sion ta'ir V'nizkeh chulanu me'ruah le'ro Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. We continue on page 113. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said. In light blinding we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back and climbed again. Your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael be'ahava. We continue on page 114. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. We continue together on page 116. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha bevetecha u'velechtecha v'aderech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'o al yadecha v'chayu letotefo b'neinecha u'v'chavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'risharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzotai v'tem kedoshim l'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem l'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Emet. We continue on page 121. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your world. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame. Stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth is for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice. We continue with the Amidah on page 124. Please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid techilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekoneh Hakol, Vezocher Chasadei Avot v'Imachot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'achava, Melech Ozir Umoshia Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav LaHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach Umarid HaGashem, Mechalkel Hayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatzir Asurid, Umechayeh Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidomela Melech Memi Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'naman atah lechachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
Kadosh, Kadosh.
seated. We continue on page 132 with Yismechu as we praise God for the gift of Shabbat. We continue on page 137. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are a God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'yirah na'avod. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one, whose mercies never end, O compassionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha lahodot.
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova veracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, sim,
goodness and blessing, grace, kindness, and mercy, to us and all people Israel. Bless us, our Creator, all of us together, through the light of your presence. Truly, through the light of your presence, Adonai, our God. You gave us the Torah of life, love of kindness, justice, and blessing, mercy, life, and peace. May you see fit to bless your Israel at all times of at every hour with your peace. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamen varech et Israel b'shalom.
Having prayed for peace in our world, we think of those who face the future not fully whole, those who are in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We think of them whispering their names aloud now. We join together in our prayer for healing. Mishaberach can be found on page 253.
Take a moment now for your own silent prayer.
Oh, say shalom bimromav, huya say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Seder Kriyat Torah, service for the reading of Torah, page 245. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to learn, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah. And let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. As we prepare to open the ark and take out our sacred scrolls, I call upon the generations of Rebecca's family to join us in front of the bima to pass down Torah from generation to generation. With Rebecca, I call upon her parents, Marla and Andrew, her grandparents, Terry Barkin, Dennis and Gail Blitz, and Carol and Joseph Russell in front of the bima, and to open the ark, her Uncle Philip and Aunt Stephanie Russell up here. And I'd ask the rest of the congregation to please rise.
vayos lemoitin Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom.
Torah Tzivalana Moshe Morashat Kihilat Yaakov. This is the Torah given by God to Moses, the inheritance of the congregation of Israel. Rebecca, at Mount Sinai, God gave the gift. There we go. Okay, Rebecca, there we go. God gave the Torah to the people of Israel as a gift of love, giving it to Moses to share with all of them. Moses passed Torah down to Joshua. Joshua passed Torah down to the elders passed Torah down to the men of the great assembly, and they passed Torah down to the rabbis. The rabbis spent their lives stepping inside the text, finding modern meaning in the ancient stories so that people would be inspired to continue to live Torah and teach Torah to those who came after them. And so, Rebecca, at this moment, as you stand here with the generations of your family, know that it is that same chain that we keep strong today, and you are the newest link. And just as God gave that gift of Torah and asked Moses to pass it down to those who came after him, so too do the generations of your family stand here, so proud of you, passing Torah down to you with the hope that someday you too will stand before a congregation, maybe this one, and pass Torah down to those who come after you. Right? It's true, it's true. And so Torah goes from generation to generation.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasures it.
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai Itir Unomema Shemo Yachtav. Lecha Adonai Hagdolah Hagvura Hatiferet Ve'hanetzach Ve'hahod. Kicho b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Kicho b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Lecha Adonai ha'mamlaka ve'mitnoseh lechol erosh. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha. ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו, באבינו לא ימוש, לעולם ולעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך. ולנצח
matov, hine matov. Ya la 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 la. Hine matov, hine matov. Ya la 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 la. Hine matov u'manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, hine matov. Ya la 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 la. Hine matov, hine matov. Ya la 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 la. Hine matov u'manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. You may be seated. This week we read from Parshat Shemini, which begins on the 8th day of the ordination ceremonies for the high priest, for Aaron and his sons. Rebecca will be reading of the fate of Aaron's sons when they tried to add to what God had commanded them. She will read from Leviticus chapter 10, verses 1 through 14, and you can follow along on our, if you're online, you can follow along on the order of service, or if you check the QR code on your way in, the Torah portion is on there as well. I would like to invite, for the honor of the first Aliyah, a lot of people. Rebecca's grandmother, Terry Barkin, her aunts, Alexis Barkin and Ariana Barkin, her grandparents, Dennis and Gail Blitz, and her uncle and aunt, Jason and Stacy Veeder.
Baruch et Adonai Amvorach. Baruch Adonai Amvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vayiku v'nei Aharon Nadav v'Abihu ish machtato vayitnu v'hen esh vayasimu aleha keteret vayakrivu lifnei Adonai esh zara asher lo siva otam v'tesa esh milifnei Adonai v'tachal otam vayamutu lifnei Adonai vayomer Moshe el Aharon Hu asher diber Adonai lemor bikrovai ekadesh ve'al pnei chol ha'am ekaved vayidam Aharon. Now Aaron's sons Nadav and Abihu each took his fire pan, put fire in it, and laid incense on it. And they offered before the eternal strange fire, which had not enjoined upon them. And the fire came forth from the Eternal and consumed them. Thus they died at the instance of the Eternal. Then Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Eternal meant when he said, 'Through those near to me I show myself holy, and gain glory before all the people.'" And Aaron was silent.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
For the honor of the second Aliyah, it's a pleasure to invite family friends Miranda and Josh Sutton and Jennifer and Thad Bartlett.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayikra Moshe El Mishael Ve'el El Safan B'nai Uziel Dod Aharon Vayomer Alehem Kirvu Se'u Et Echechem Me'et Pnei HaKodesh El Michutz Lamachane Vayikrevu Vayisaum Bechutonotam El Michutz Lamachane Ka'asher Diber Moshe Vayomer Moshe El Aharon Ule Elazar Ule Itamar Banav Rashechem Al Tifra'u Uvigdechem Lo Tiframu Velo Tamutu Ve'el Kol Ha'eda Yiksof Ve'ichluha Kol Beit Yisrael Yivku Et Hasrefa Asher Sarah Adonai Umi Batach Ohel Moed Lo Tetsu Pen Tamutu Ki Shemen Mishchat Adonai Alechem Vayasu Kidvar Moshe. Moses called Mishael and Elsaphan, sons of Uziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said to them, "Come forward and carry your kinsmen away from the front of the sanctuary to a place outside the camp." They came forward and carried them outside. They carried them outside of the camp by their tunics, as Moses had ordered. Moses said to Aaron and to his sons Eleazar and Itamar, "Do not bare your heads and do not rend your clothes, lest you die and anger strike the whole community. But your kinsmen, all the house of Israel, shall bewail the burning that the Eternal has wrought. And so do not go outside the entrance of the tent of meeting, lest you die, for the Eternal's anointing oil is upon you." And they did as Moses had bidden.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
For the third Aliyah, it's a pleasure to invite Rebecca's parents, Andrew and Marla, and her sister Lily.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vayedaber Adonai El Aharon Lamor Yain Veshachar Al Tesh Atah Uvanecha Itach Bevoechem El Ohel Moed Velo Tamutu Chukat Olam Ledorotechem ule havdil ben hakodesh uven hachol uven hatamet uven hatahor ule horot et bnei Yisrael et kol hachukim asher diber Adonai alehem beyad Moshe. Thank you. And the Eternal One spoke to Aaron, saying, drink no wine or other intoxicant, you or your sons, when you enter the tent of meeting, that you may not die. This is a law for all times throughout the ages. For you must distinguish between the sacred and profane, and between the impure and the pure. And you must teach the Israelites all the laws which the Eternal has imparted to them through Moses.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
The final aliyah we reserve for our bat mitzvah. Ta'amod, Rivka Ora bat Mazel Bela, Habachara bat mitzvah.
Baruch Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayedaber Moshe el Aharon ve'el Elazar ve'el Itamar banav Hanoterim kechu et Hamincha Hanoteret me'ishe Adonai ve'ichluha matzot etzel hamizbeach ki kodesh kodeshim hi ve'achaltem ota b'makom kadosh ki chokcha v'chok b'necha hi me'ishe Adonai ki chen suveti ve'et chazeh hatnufa ve'et shok hatruma tochlu v'makom tahor ata uvenecha uvnotecha itach ki chokcha v'chok b'necha nitnu mizivchei shalmei b'nei Yisrael. Moses spoke to Aaron and to his remaining sons, Eleazar and Itamar. Take the meal offering that is left over from the Eternal's offering by fire and eat it unleavened beside the altar, for it is most holy. You shall eat it in the sacred precinct, inasmuch as it is your due and that of your children, from the Eternal's offering by fire, for so I have been commanded. But the breast of elevation offering and the thigh of gift offering you, and your sons and daughter with you, may eat in any clean place, for they have been assigned as a due to you and your children from the Israelites, sacrifices of well-being. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. This is the end of our Torah reading for this Shabbat. I would like to call up Rebecca's uncle, Jason Veeder, who will lift the Torah, and her sister Lily, who will dress the Torah. Please rise in honor of the Torah.
My Torah portion, Shmini, tells of the consecration of the tabernacle, the deaths of Nadav and Abihu, and the dietary laws of Kashrut. The verses I read today talk about God's commandments to Aaron and to his sons to make a sacrifice. Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Abihu, are commanded by God to bring specific things to a sacrifice. They decide to bring their own incense instead of what God commanded. After this, God kills them and tells their families not to mourn their deaths. A question I have about my Torah portion is, why did God kill Nadav and Abihu? A commentator that focused on answering my question is a 3rd century Jewish scholar named Rabbi Levi. Rabbi Levi says that Nadav and Abihu are arrogant. I agree with Rabbi Levi that there has to be something more to God's actions, because a righteous God wouldn't kill him just like that. Also, I agree with him that they were arrogant, because when I was reading it, I thought the same thing. I think they were arrogant because they decided to bring their own incense, which they thought would impress God enough to make them kings. But God was not impressed and killed them instead. This had an impact on the two sons, but it also had a big impact on everyone around them. Some sayings that relate to this are, look for cake and you'll lose your bread, which is a Yiddish proverb. The cake is the power that Nadav and Abihu wanted, and the bread is their lives that they lost. Another one is, you can't do bad things without consequences. I relate to that one saying because once I was on my phone instead of putting my clean clothes away, and my mom took my phone away until I put my clean clothes away. And the last saying is, if you'll mess with fire, you'll get burned. This saying relates to my portion because Aaron's sons thought they could manipulate God, but they learned a hard lesson that they couldn't, because when they were killed and they literally got burned. Becoming a bat mitzvah is important to me because I will be an adult in the Jewish community, and I want to be treated like how an adult gets treated. I have always been more interested in talking to adults than kids, because kids' conversations are sometimes immature. I do like messing around sometimes, but I like to have more serious and deep conversations like adults do. I look forward to becoming a Jewish adult so I can talk with adults even more than I do now. I would like to thank my Hebrew tutor Hagit for making sure I stayed on track and was prepared, Cantor Berlin for helping me with my Haftorah blessings, Rabbi Jurgen for helping me with my Devar, and Rabbi Nathan, as well as my family and friends for making this all possible today. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Stand. You're good. So, Jewish tradition teaches that the world stands on 3 pillars: Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. That is learning, sacred study. That's Torah. Avodah is worship, sacred service, and Gemilut Chasadim are acts of loving kindness. So Rebecca has already fulfilled 2 of those pillars this morning. She led us beautifully in worship. She just taught us some great Torah, insightful Torah. And now she fulfills that 3rd pillar of loving kindness. At Temple Beth-El, we don't chant or read from the traditional Haftarah. Instead, we ask our students to pick a prophetic text that speaks to them. Many of them are they're etched on the stained glass windows that are around our sanctuary. Our students pick a quote that speaks to them and connect it to their lives and to a mitzvah project that they have done. So Rebecca is now going to share in her traditional Haftarah blessings and then share her prophetic perspective.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem ha'ne'emerim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'vi'eh ha'emet v'tzedek. My prophetic text is Psalm 85:11. Mercy and truth have met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed together. You can find it in the sanctuary at Temple Beth-El. My prophetic text basically means mercy and truth are okay and all, but righteousness and peace are powerful. This text connects to my life because I find peace when my room is clean, I'm showered, and I feel productive. And I find righteousness when I help others out, like, for example, holding the door or just being nice and genuine with them. And doing all of that makes my life better because I feel righteous, peaceful, and calm. For my mitzvah project, I decided to help reduce global warming / climate change. I am doing this by using reusable water bottles instead of plastic, using cloth napkins instead of paper napkins, and by talking to other people to start using reusable things as well. This is important to me because I want a better future for not just me, but my generation and the generations yet to come. Doing all these things has made me realize that it is much harder than it seems to always recycle and use reusable things because of how often we throw things away. My mitzvah project relates to my prophetic text because when we push back on climate change, there is righteousness and peace. Rather than leaving it up to God, I think individuals are responsible to protect our planet. Therefore, individuals get to act in ways that are righteous. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Masor kol ha'olamim, Tzadik bechol hadarot, Ha'el ha'ne'emon, Ha'omer ve'oseh, Hamdaver u'mekayem, Shekol devarav, Emet v'tzedek, Al ha'torah, Ve'al ha'avodah, Ve'al ha'nevi'im, Ve'al yom ha'shabbat chazeh, Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha v'limnucha, Lechavod u'litifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu modim la, Umivarchim otach, Yitbarach shimcha ufi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
As I look around the sanctuary, I'm filled with such gratitude. I want to thank our friends and family from near and far for making time in their busy schedules to share this mitzvah with us. Our time apart throughout COVID makes our time together that much more special. There are a few important people that are not physically here today, but I can guarantee that they are looking down and smiling, especially Papa Steve. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Carol for her generosity and acceptance of our family traditions. I'd like to thank my friends and siblings for their endless support, furniture rearranging, humor, fancy pastries, and corned beef. You all know who you are, and I'd like to thank my mom. The list is too long, but you mean the world to us, and we couldn't have pulled this off without you. Rebecca. What a week. First, I'd like to thank modern medicine for giving you every remedy possible to get you healthy enough to be up here today. You were a rock star patient. Your work on the bima wasn't too shabby either. But it's not just about today. It's about all of your hard work and perseverance that took you to get to this day. From your initial meetings with Rabbi Nathan and Rabbi Jurgen to the countless hours with Hagit and Cantor Berlin and on your own studying for this day. Your bedroom door may have been closed, but I have loved listening to you practice from the kitchen while making dinner. Your hard work has paid off in spades. Bat mitzvah translates to daughter of the commandment. Today you are a daughter of the commandment, a spiritual adult within the Jewish community, and I'm happy to welcome you with open arms. While I love the idea of you being part of the adult community, I hope that you never lose your individual spirit. You have always had a very strong notion of right and wrong, plus a powerful internal voice guiding you. Even as a toddler, you could not be bought. There wasn't a bribe or consequence that could get you to do something that you didn't want to do. Believe me, I tried. Your response, I can handle that, and you still can. You spend a lot of time being the youngest person in the room, but you do not recede into the background, just the opposite. You ask questions, you join the conversation. Your perspective is a touch different because you're the only kid speaking out, but I love how you motivate the big kids to join in too. You really see people for who they are on the inside. When you love someone, you're not afraid to tell them, and those lucky people know it. When you admire someone, you tell them why you admire them. You make people feel seen and appreciated. Your ability to see through the fluff and get to know the real person underneath is a skill that many adults are still working on it. You've mastered it. You keep me on pins and needles. I've spent many hours on the edge of my seat waiting to hear what will come out of your mouth. You live by the words, never stop speaking your truth. I can just imagine your child standing in your spot on their bar or bat mitzvah day wondering, what in the world is my mom going to say about me? I'm already on pins and needles waiting to hear. You are loved and appreciated by your family and friends. You are an upstander. You are the brave one who sticks up for whoever is being persecuted. You do not go someplace or do something just because everyone else is doing it. You always follow your heart. You are a true individual. Such a little bit more. I love you more than you can imagine, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Shabbat Shalom.
Your mom's a tough act to follow, but I gotta say, well done, Rebecca. I'm so proud of all the work you've put in to get to this day. You've been looking forward to this ever since you attended your first bar mitzvah, and that excitement grew with each one that followed. Today it was your day, and you nailed it. I'm not just excited for you, but for me as well. Why? Because I get to give you one of my favorites, a life lesson, and you can't run away. My baby, you are now a young adult, and you are now on the great balancing act, onto the great balancing act of life, being your authentic, childlike self while taking on the responsibility that comes with being part of a community. Rabbi Hillel spoke of this balance when he said, if I am not for myself, then who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? If not now, when? What does that mean? First, you must always be true to yourself. You are actually very good at that already. You've always had your own style. You speak your mind, sometimes rather bluntly, and you have inherited the strong-willed genes of your Papa Bo, Uncle Philip, and your great-grandmother Virginia. You know the value of carving out time for yourself, and I think you have this part covered. The hard part is the next one. If I am only for myself, what am I? Becoming an adult is about taking responsibility and being part of your community. It involves pushing yourself to do things that are hard and that you'd rather not do. We can't have a society, though, without people compromising and acting for the collective good. The world could not function if everyone stayed in bed watching TikToks all day. Who would farm the food we eat, make the cars we drive, or make those great TikTok videos we want to watch? As important as it is, though, to act on behalf of others, it is very easy to grow up and get overwhelmed by the pressures of the necessary but mundane routines of life, and you can start to lose your childlike self, your truest self, and you can begin playing a part you don't want to play and becoming a person you don't recognize. Don't do it. Step back, reconnect with who you are, and only then will you truly write the story you're meant to show this world. That leads me to the last part. If not now, when? To me, this line is both about being present and taking action. Time is precious and is probably the hardest concept for you to understand right now at your age. Your whole life is ahead of you, but you will learn that time begins to fly as you get older, whether you're having fun or not. Take a breath, be present. Do not worry too much about the future, but when you are worried, don't sit by wringing your hands or complaining. Take action. As another Jewish thinker explained, days are scrolls, write on them what you want to be remembered. Make your story your own and make it wonderful. Okay, you've stood here for long enough. I hope some of that resonated with you now or will come back to you later in life. Now that I have that life lesson out of the way, I'll close with the most important message I have for you. Despite you becoming an adult today, you'll always be my baby. I love you.
Beautiful. Very rabbinic, I might add. At this poignant moment of blessing, we make ready to return Torah to the Ark. It's my pleasure to call up your Uncle Ronnie and your Aunt Bonnie and your Uncle Don to open the Ark. And I would ask the congregation to please rise as we make ready to return the Torah to the Ark.
Page 256.
Thank you. You may be seated. How you feeling?
Good.
She's good. She is good. Slightly more relaxed than we were before. Yeah, I see that kind of like, yeah, so good. Was this, I'm going to steal your line right now. I'm sorry. It's actually my line, which I think you took. Okay, it's good.
When you don't do what I do.
It's good. Was this the fastest bar bat mitzvah you have ever attended? Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I tell B'nai Mitzvah students I became a rabbi so I'd have something to do during services. And it's amazing what happens when you stand up in front of a group of people, especially ones that are so filled with love and admiration for you, and you lead them like that, right? All right, I won't hand you the HUC application for rabbinical school quite yet, but I think that if it was something you wanted to do in the future, you'd be good. Because you definitely understand how to look at Torah and find the truth in it that really speaks to you. When we sat down and looked at your Torah portion, admittedly, there's some challenging parts in this parsha. You went right for the most challenging part, right? Which is, why did God kill Nadav and Abihu? Right? There's no answer to that question. It's a horrible moment in Torah, but instead of just focusing on what went wrong, you went to figure out what had caused this in the first place, right? And I appreciate that you focused on the fact, like I did last night, right, that Nadav and Abihu's perspective on what it means to be a leader and what it means to support community was completely off. They were only thinking about themselves as opposed to what was best for everyone. I loved your Yiddish proverb. I want to make sure I got it right. Look for cake and you'll lose your bread. Let's keep this one, right? So what tastes better, cake or bread? Cake. Most people would say cake tastes better, right? Though some people don't like sugar, they like more of the savory, it's true, right? But if all you're doing is thinking about cake to the point that you're obsessed with cake, even if the most delicious, healthy, nourishing bread is right here, what are you gonna do? You're gonna ignore it, right? Because you're so focused on the cake. Sometimes we're so looking at a goal that not only is far away, but in the case of cake, not good for you, not good for you, even though it's delicious, right? We lose out on what we need because of what we want, right? Nadav and Abihu were so caught up in this idea of getting power and so focused on what they wanted that not only did they forget what they needed, but they actually forgot what they were supposed to do, right? Which was follow the instructions to a T. I love that you both follow instructions and also are not scared to push and say, what is the purpose of those instructions in the first place, right? Very important thing to do. As your dad quoted so beautifully, one of my favorite rabbinic teachings as well, right? If you're only for yourself, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when, right? So you need to keep looking and thinking about what is good for you. I want to translate that as be your authentic self always, but you also have to think about the needs of others, right? So not only think about yourself, but what do other people who you know and who you love, and even those people out there who you don't know yet, but you know they need your help, that you're focused on them too, and never put off today what you can do, right? To seize the day. I thought my child was the only one who stayed in bed all day watching TikTok. I feel really glad to know it's not just me. Okay, so Nadav and Abihu teach us that sometimes it can be dangerous when we're so focused on what we think we need and want that it consumes us. But Rebecca, when I look at you, I think that you are the polar opposite. You're someone who believes strongly in the things you believe in. You're not afraid to be your own self, but you also care deeply about the people in your life, whether they're your family, your friends, or your community. So I hope that you never give up that mixture, that you keep being yourself, and that next week when you're back at school and you're thinking, I cannot believe that actually really happened. Did all these people really come to Temple and celebrate me? Did I really just lead services and read from the Torah? The answer is, yeah, and you did it beautifully. And I hope that this experience shows you and reminds you, you can do anything. Okay? You're welcome. At this moment of blessing and joy, I want to give you a final blessing, just for this service, that is, in front of the ark. So I'm going to invite you to come with your mom and dad to join Cantor Berlin, Rabbi Jurgen, and myself for the priestly benediction, Birkat Kohanim, and I'd ask the congregation to please rise. May God bless you and keep you.
May God deal kindly with you and be gracious unto you.
May God's radiant presence shine upon you, Rebecca, and grant you life's choicest blessings of health, wholeness, happiness, lots of family love, and peace. Amen.
You may be seated, except for Rebecca. All right, so now we just said, now it's easy. Now it's getting your gifts to celebrate today. Yes, right? And I'm super excited because we have some new stuff I didn't even know was happening, which makes it that much more exciting. But I'm going to start with your certificate, which is not new, but it is new to you, to say that you successfully completed this, even though everyone here can tell it happened. The three of us signed it, so it's official, right? But you have this for all time. And then we also give you, from North American Federation of Temple Youth, a gift certificate to help get you on a trip to Israel, which, when you go through confirmation, Temple Beth-El will match to help get you on that trip. From Sisterhood, we give you this Tanakh with your name on it. Not that I expect you to lay in bed and read this instead of watch TikToks, but there are TikTok channels that talk about it, so we can find those together. But you will have this for the rest of your life to bring with you to continue learning, which I know that you love to do. We also have from Brotherhood our candlesticks and a brand new Kiddush Cup. Beautiful Kiddush Cup, and this allows you to continue your Jewish path with your own Judaica, your ritual items that you get to use yourself alongside your family. And then from Yachad, which is our religious school parents group, a tzedakah box to keep working on social justice. And I wanted to add a little bit to what Rabbi Nathan said, that you took it a step further, right? That you weren't just saying, hey, I'm gonna help somebody for this hour, but you said, I want to stop climate change. I want to make the world a better place. I'm going to do these actions. I'm going to push it on all my friends and family, right? And make sure that they are doing the right things and let them know when they aren't, which I know you did, right? So that you could help future generations, right? That it wasn't just about you, but it was about everyone coming after you, the people you know and those you don't, and how beautiful that really is. So I am so proud of you, and I want you to just take a deep breath. Because now you get to enjoy the rest of the service, and we continue with Aleinu, page 283, and I ask everyone to please rise as I invite up Bev Wallace and Rita Bednarsh, Rebecca's aunts, to help open the ark. You may be seated. We turn now to our memorial meditation, page 291. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were, in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet none of us is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one, whose life now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone and every life finds purpose. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yard sites, we remember them. Jack Alter, Julian Aronson, Edna Shermack Baruch, Jefferson Bell, Jordan Bradfield, Maurice Braha, June Britton, Bob Brook, Fanny Brooks, Charles Chuck Cook, Margaret Herman Cooper, Richard Courtney, Dr. Bernard Crane, Hector Curiel, Frank Lipper Dover, Ima Edrington, Mary Edwards, Dr. Carlos Eric, Jason M. Heine Felder, Frederica Feldman, Mamie Finkelstein, Dina Fisher, Clarence Solomon Freeman, Selma Friedman, Milton Arthur Frost Jr., Darlene Gregory, Sadie Grome, Joe Guggenheim, Jean Halstead, Marjorie Pepler Halstead, Julius Hines, Evan Manuel Hirsch, Michael Edwin Kahn, Miriam Kalmans, Dorothy Kaufman, Walter Koenig, Burton Collison, Ida Kovacs, Fanny Loeb Kreider, Quentin Lamb, Lida Vexler Landy, Jean Leff, Stella Levison, Hortense Horty Lyman Fine, Jean Lang Matthews, Gerald Mazur, Carol McBride, Darren Mensch, George Newmark, Jeff D. Nordhaus, Ted Nye, Juanita Ream, Martine Myers-Roseland, Meyer Rosenman, Anna Rubenstein, Larry Joseph Sacknowitz, Mary Arbetter Sharlock, Arnold Wagner, Frank Werbner, and Dr. Elliot Wesser. We also think of those who've been buried in the past month, whose families are in a mourning period of Shloshim. Remember Diana Pearl Cole, Bob Marbut, Henry Hank Bronstein, Marilyn Friedman, Marvin Barenblatt, Cookie Belinsky, and Lawrence Larry Allen Beck. We also think of those who have been buried in this past week, whose families are in a mourning period of Shiva. We remember Dr. William C. Davis, husband of Osia J. Davis, father of Dr. Cheryl E. Davis and Mark A. and Melody Davis, and grandfather of Evelyn Tanner, Ian Morrison, Zachary Matthews, and Callie Morrison. We also remember Freda Spidell, aunt of Warren and Iris Lieberman. We also remember Craig Gullidge, husband of Tracy Gullidge, father of Jess, Chris, and Eric, and brother of Karen Cruz. At this sacred hour, Rebecca's family particularly remembers Steve Barkin, Louis Blitz, Cecile Kerner, Leonard Kerner, Don Russell, John Russell, Virginia Russell, Lynn Rikus, Esco Walter, and Oma Beth Walter. With all of these names and those which are in our hearts each and every day, we turn to page 294 for Kaddish Yatom and rise together as one community. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah muvarach le'olam ulmei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu, La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Our closing song is In Kelohenu on page 322. I would like to call up Lily, as well as Carter Altruda, Veter cousins, Quincy and Silas Bartlett, Naomi and Ari Sutton to join us and join Rebecca in Kiddush. And Lily, you're doing Kiddush and Motzi. Just so you know.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen. Take that. It's juice.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lehem min haaretz.
Amen. Zeh hayom asa Adonai nagila v'nismechavo. This is the day that God has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Shabbat shalom.
You're good at cutting that.
Congratulations, Lily. Great job.
She did amazing.
She exploded. Congratulations, Lily.
You did great. You guys look at home. No. She got a surgery.
Yeah.
Look, use the crutches. Use them. Bringing you back to the flashbacks when I was doing it for the camera.
For the empty.
For the whole team.
Yeah.
Only Ben and Noah.
You want
Ben
some?
and Noah.
Give her a good piece. Give her a good piece. Yeah.
Starbucks run? Yes, Starbucks run. Take.